64 Tacos Podcast presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 68. Pink Floyd, High Hopes, live.
Welcome back to another Is This Song Good podcast, the 64 Tacos podcast. We're finishing up our live versions of songs this week with my pick, which is Pink Floyd, High Hopes. This came from the Pulse album, which is a live double album, I believe.
Yep.
I purchased this when it came out, and I wasn't really a huge Pink Floyd fan, so I'm not really sure why I bought it.
Was it the blinking light in the packaging?
Yeah, it might have been that. Like when I see something blinking at me, I'm like, I need that.
Shiny. As a human crow, you had to run over there and buy it.
Yeah. No, I think I heard maybe one of the songs on the radio, and then they were advertising it, and of course, like a good consumer, I was like, I need to go out and buy that. But I was really happy that I did, because it like fostered my newfound love for Pink Floyd at the time. And I just, went through it a bunch of times. And this one, I'd never heard this song before, never knew it even existed. And this one just really hit home because it just has such a cinematic feel to it. And I just we've talked about, slide guitars and stuff. And this has one of the best, I feel one of the best lap steel guitar solos that David Gilmour does, and it's even better watching it on the video. I think I watched a DVD of it or something, but it's great. Like he's at one part of the stage and he's rocking out, and then like it, he sings the last line right before the solo, and then he kind of goes over to the lap steel and just goes to town, and what I thought was really interesting about this one, and the reason why I wanted to include it on this, is that after I heard the song, I went and tracked down the album. I think, is it the Division Bell?
The Division Bell. It's Division Bell.
I went and I listened to that album, and I listened to this song, and it doesn't hit the same way. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, it feels so like clean and perfect. And it just doesn't have that same type of cinematic feel and that same sort of emotional emphasis that solo does at the end. So yeah, what I'm saying is that I need my Pink Floyd to be a little bit dirty. And I think at that time their production values and the way that they were doing things was just not dirty enough, but the live recording managed to capture that. So what are you guys' thoughts?
So I love Pink Floyd. I'm a real big Pink Floyd fan. So much to the point where the only studio album I own of theirs is the Division Bell.
I knew somebody owned it.
I don't know how I got stuck in our group being the one to buy the Division Bell.
I bought the box set, and
you bought the box set.
I don't think Division. I think Momentary Lapse of Reason's on there, but I don't think the Division Bell's.
The Division Bell is
set.
not in the box set.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll get Division Bell, and then eventually buy the box set later. I have not bought the box set to this very day. But I really like the song High Hopes off of it. I was like, okay, well, there's this one song that I like on it. So we've talked about in this series how often, bands will take a song and go a completely different way, like Tonight did. And then you've got Radiohead just going down into a basement and recording a really, really laser accurate, but stripped down version. And then you've got, Tom Petty had this big, huge, solo instrumental section at the end of their song. U2 just went complete U2 on Mysterious Ways, and then REM just kind of had this really super intimate moment with their medley that they did. Well, this song somehow, I don't know. I love that it's the last one we're doing in the series, because they kind of managed to do all of those things that made all of those songs great in this one song. Like they changed it just enough, but it still feels very similar. But it changes it just enough to where it brings this extra emotion into the performance, like you said, Zach. And it feels just more real, but still it's very, very true to the album. Like if you just played one after the other, having never heard either version before, I don't know that you would notice the differences. But when you get into it and you actually listen to this live version, it is definitely different in a way that makes it so much more fulfilling to listen to. And I completely agree with you, Zach. Like I had heard the album version several times because it was the only Pink Floyd that I had. So if I wanted to listen to Pink Floyd, that's where I was. But yeah, I love it. I think this is one of the best live versions of a song I've heard in a while. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I'm a big Pink Floyd fan. I love Pink Floyd. And Zach, you bought this Pulse for me. Back in like 2006. Like it was like a birthday thing. When we were down in Arizona, you were like, "Here, birthday present," and it was the live Pulse. And I was like, "Oh, okay." It wasn't something I was like looking for specifically, but I did watch it a lot. There's a lot of great versions on there. It's a really, really good live sort of compilation. I think it's from a couple of different shows, but and yeah, I remember Dave listening to Division Bell, because you'd have it in your car, or you put it in the.
It would accidentally come on in the 100 disc changer or something,
Yeah, it would come in. No, I liked this album at first when I was sort of like an early, this came out in '94. It was the most recent Pink Floyd album when we started listening to them around 90, 95, 96.
Right.
And it was like, I was like, oh, cool. There's a new Pink Floyd album that just came out, and I enjoyed listening to it. Now, it's one of my least favorite Pink Floyd albums now in context of all their other stuff.
Yes.
There is it's the old Pink Floyd argument of who was more important, Gilmour or Waters. And I think most people would probably come down on, it doesn't matter who your favorite person, main creative voice in that band was. They're both worse without each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And this suffers from a lack of vision and bite that Roger Waters brings. Now, David Gilmour's I think a better musician, better singer, better guitar player. No offense intended to, if Roger Waters was listening to this album, I'm sure he'd be reasonable. Of course, he's a reasonable man from what I gather. But there's something sort of antiseptic about this album. It is very clean. It feels like they're covering a band, Pink Floyd, and this new band called Pink Floyd, but it's just missing a little bit of something.
It's like they're trying to put out a Boston album is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no messiness. There's I think the lyrics were in large part written with David Gilmour's wife. And they're very elegant lyrics. I don't have any real complaint, but there's no bite. There's no bitterness. There's no pissed off, anger,
right.
Which is one of the things that really balances out with the big soaring melodies and great vocals from Gilmour is the sort of, the edgier side. So this album sort of became an album I never listened to anymore. But I also think that even in their post Roger Waters and their live performances, they're on sort of not that far from parody of Pink Floyd with the 3 or 4 clad in black dresses, backup singers, swaying, along to the songs, and the sort of 3 percussionists, and it's a very elaborate thing, and it feels like they're trying to recreate Pink Floyd, but they're not including one of the most important ingredients. But that said, there's still something really powerful about how ambitious they are in their songwriting, what they're trying for. And I think when they play it live, it really comes to life in part because of the immediacy of the live vocals. Anytime that David Gilmour gets to stretch out and solo for a while is a good time. I was going to put the live version of Comfortably Numb on here before Zach beat me to the punch with a Pink Floyd Pulse album.
Yeah.
Because that's maybe my favorite David Gilmour solo record or otherwise. But there's something about when he just sort of he starts off in the same place as the solo on the album, but he just kind of like stretches it out and does slightly different things, and it feels really immediate, and like his touch and his tone is just so perfect. Interestingly, this does sound like it could be almost like it could be a studio recording if you hadn't heard the studio recording.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it feels very clean and managed. But go ahead.
That seems to be something that Pink Floyd just excels at, and it's a testament to their songwriting and their their showmanship. Is it seems like they write the songs to be able to be played live really well. Like they don't.
Yeah.
There's a deliberate in the recording. It just feels like this is something that will come out even better, live.
Yeah, the sort of big scale, big gesture, big light show. It goes well with this sort of thing. It's a band that sort of invented prog rock while never being
a prog rock band.
Not really. Yeah, like they're not incredibly like ambitious when it comes to technical playing or like time signatures. They just sort of they're not Mozart's or they're not Steve Vai's. They're not going crazy, but they have the ambition of what they're going for, this big statement, and they pull it off really well. And yeah, these live performances are awesome. And once you've heard the live performance, it undermines the studio one a little bit because you're like, this is a little bit too clean, a little bit too controlled. It's missing something. And I think that's the thing that they lost when Waters moved on. Like there's a lot of good songwriting on the last couple albums. One other thing I wanted to mention while we're talking about later albums is, of course, we didn't know this at the time, but the Endless River, the second to last line in the song is the name of the final Pink Floyd album, which came out a few years ago, sort of wrapping it all up, Pink Floyd album. And I thought that was kind of neat, which, I listened to the song a bunch of times, and the Endless River is a cool little shard of lyric, but it was, I had forgotten about that and didn't put the two together. Then I was listening to it and then he sings the Endless River, and I was like, oh yeah, Endless River, that's right. And then they ended up using that for that last album. But yeah, it's all predictable. You know where it's going. There's nothing incredibly inventive about it. It's just like, let's write a big long 8-minute song and let's have a big old guitar solo at the end. Let's do this. And that's, hey, I'm not going to complain. That's pretty good as long as Gilmour's playing guitar.
Yep.
Yeah. Or lap steel.
Yes.
Either way, like he just can do it all.
Oh yeah. All right. Anything else we want to say about High Hopes?
No, I don't think so. That's going to wrap up our live version series here. I hope you enjoyed it, and we should have a new series coming out relatively soon. Hopefully we don't wait another 6 months before the next one gets going.
We'll wait as long as we want. You'll like it. Or you won't. Either way. Your choice.
Okay.
I caught it on audio.